Hey, welcome to Word Racing. This is Randy Word, and this video is for our Cyclisma cycling team that we sponsor. For those in the kart racing world, we are going to come out with another video specifically on lifting karts on and off stands without hurting your back, because we see that happen at the track all the time. You know, we see parents hurting their backs and having to go to the doctor. So, anyways, this one's for the cycling team. Just a quick, simple video on deadlift, and we're going to cover 3 different kinds of deadlifting. The standard deadlift with the barbell, sumo style deadlift with the barbell, and then also we're going to cover the hex bar, or trap bar as it's also called, which happens to work really well for cycling and anything athletic. So this is a really good exercise, really good for cycling, very specific to cycling muscles. And it's something that works a lot of leg muscles, not just back, and that's one of the things we want to concentrate on, is it being a pushing exercise rather than just a pulling exercise. You want to push with your legs like you're doing a leg press machine. And so I want to show you a few tips for our team so people can do this without hurting themselves. And number one thing, of course, is don't let your ego get in the way. Don't try and lift too much weight. Take it easy, start out with really light weights, lighter than you think you can do, and make sure you get plenty of rest. Only do this a couple times a week. And so anyways, let's start with the standard deadlift. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your legs are really close to the bar, because you want to keep the bar as close to your legs as possible, and you want the bar going up in a straight line. So you'll stand. It depends some on your height and stuff, but you're going to want to stand with your legs just about an inch or so from the bar right here. You should be able to see your laces. And you want your feet at shoulder width. So the idea here is that your arms are going to be hanging straight down. You don't want your arms out like this at all. They got to be straight down. And the reason for that is you don't want to be lifting with your arms at all when you get into heavier weights. Your arms are just like meat hooks holding it straight down. If you're trying to lift, especially if you're doing a mixed grip and you try and lift with your bicep, that's how people hurt themselves. Your feet are at your shoulder width, arms straight down, and one of the best ways to set up is to go down to your knees like this, hinge at the hip, and then you bend with your legs and see your arms go straight down. See, they're going to go in a straight line coming up. Everything's in a straight line, and it's as close as possible to here. And then one of the most important things is you got to keep your back flat. So when you're down like this, you don't want your hips up like this, because then you're going to be lifting with your back. And you don't want to be going way down like this, because then you're going to be out of form and you're going to have to shift and move forward. And if you're moving forward, it's going to throw you out, and you're going to have a tendency for the bar to come too far away. And again, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your back. So don't arch your back this way, and don't hyperextend it this way. So you're down like this, your back should be pretty flat. It can have a slight arch in it this way, but not this way. Don't do that. And then you want to throw your chest out, and you want to pull the slack out of the bar. And again, think of pushing down. You're going to, like you're doing a leg press, push the floor down with your legs rather than trying to pull the bar up. So we go down like this, our arms are just straight, heads up, the back's flat. Put the chest out so the traps are tight, everything's tight, and then you push on the floor. And see, the bar was close the whole time. And then you stand straight up, but don't hyperextend. Go back down fairly quickly but smoothly, controlled motion. You don't want to go too slow on the way back down, because that can also hurt your back. Okay, so that was a demonstration of the standard deadlift. One thing we didn't cover was breathing. It's important to breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your mouth. And you want to breathe in before you start the lift, and you want to tighten up your core. When you extend your chest out, that I mentioned tightening up your triceps and your lats, but you also want to tighten up your core, so that helps support your back when everything's tight. Another thing I wanted to cover real quick is shoes. you want a shoe that has a flat, stable surface. Do not use a running shoe with a soft, squishy sole because it can squish and tip and you can lose support. It's not stable. You want something that's flat like this. Ideally, you want something really thin, though, too, with not much padding. This is a little bit of a compromise. Will work, and it's just like Chuck Taylor's would work because they have a flat sole and they're fairly thin. But ideally, you want a wrestling shoe or a racing shoe, like these kart racing shoes or auto racing shoes that are super thin. Work really well. So anyways, I'll demonstrate this one more time, the standard deadlift, and then we'll do the sumo deadlift. So nice and close to the bar. Breathe in through the nose, tighten everything, back flat, head up, pull the slack out, push with your legs, don't pull with your back, straight, and then back down, controlled. And you can just keep doing the same thing, controlled. And with really light weights like this, which is what you want to start out with, something light, you can do like 3 sets of 12 or 3 sets of 15 starting out. If it's your first time, if you haven't done deadlift in 6 months or more, you might want to just do a couple sets instead of 3. But start out with like 3 sets of 12, and then as you work into heavier weights, like when I'm over 200, 250 pounds, then I'll start doing like 5 sets of 5 instead of 3 sets of 12, because it's working a different type of muscle. So the other thing I want to cover is a sumo deadlift. And what that is it's similar technique, and it's also the technique that we recommend for lifting carts, on and off cart stands, because carts are so low to the ground. With the sumo stance, your feet are a lot wider apart, so it puts you down closer to the bar. So instead of shoulder width with your arms on the outside, your feet are going to be pointed out at about a 45-degree angle, and your arms are going to be hanging on the inside. Again though, your arms should be hanging straight down. And you do not want any flex in your elbow. Arms should be straight. But the technique is the same. You're close to the bar. You hinge at the hip. Bend your legs. Arms straight down. Breathe in. Just like that. Keep the bar close to your legs. Push with your legs. Keep the core tight, chest out. Basically the same technique. Okay, and then the third thing I want to cover, because it really is good for athletics. It's a more of an explosive type of muscle, and the weight is more in line with your body. So it's actually a little easier on the back too, especially if you're going to start doing real heavy weights. Usually if I'm over 250 pounds of lifting, deadlift, I'll use the trap bar or hex bar. Okay, so this is a trap bar or hex bar. Most people like to call it a hex bar. And it is something that a lot of gyms have. If you want one for home gym, I think they range, I don't remember how much I paid for this one, but I think they're in the range of about like $60 to $120. And it's a great device to have though, because it's much easier on the back. And when you're lifting really heavy weights, you can actually turn the handles in the upward position, so you don't have to go as low. So anyways, I'll demonstrate this, but this one's really simple because the technique is the same, but if anything, actually easier. But again, just really focus on pushing with the legs, not pulling up with your back. So arms straight, right in the middle of the handles, and about shoulder width apart on the feet, kind of like the standard deadlift. And again, hinge at the hip, come down, then bend the knees, grab the bar, chest out, core tight, breathe in, and straight up. Straight up. Okay, and one other thing I should have mentioned at the beginning, always warm up good before you start lifting any heavy weights. I'll usually ride bike on a trainer or the rollers for at least 10, but preferably 15 to 20 minutes. and then start out with some real light weights. And sometimes I'll even start out with just the bar, then throw a couple plates on, and just do a few sets so don't fatigue yourself, because you just want to get the muscles warmed up, get all the tendons warmed up, get the blood flowing really good. So once you're warmed up, then you're good to go. Threw a little bit more weight on here, just to, because it had so little weight on it, it was hard to even maintain the correct form because it was too light. So I'll just do a couple more just to show you on that. And you'll notice I added a weight belt. The weight belt, the best thing, it doesn't help a whole lot. It's not something you depend on. It's your form that matters for keeping your back safe. But one thing that the weight belt does do is that you can feel when you're flexing your core. So just don't over tighten the weight belt. You want them snug. Some people like really crank them down. But it's my theory that if you got it pinched too much and it's putting a lot of pressure when you're bending down, I mean, it could even cause a hernia. That's just a theory of mine. I don't know if that's true or not. But the weight belt is not a crutch. It's your form that needs to be right. The weight belt is just something you can really feel your core. So again, let's throw a little bit more weight on here and let's give this a shot. See how the form is. So again, hinge at the hip, then bend your legs, keep your head up, back straight, chest out, breathe in. Don't bounce. Some people have a tendency to bounce off the ground, and you want to try and avoid that because you're more likely to lose your balance a little and get out of form. So, I think that's everything. I think I covered. I want to thank Ethan, my son, for filming this, and wordracing.com, and be sure to subscribe, check the notification, because we will have another video coming out on proper form of lifting carts. Good luck to our team as we're all trying to get through this virus thing and everyone's working out indoors, so hopefully this is helpful. And if you have any questions at all, be sure to ask. And if you ever feel anything feels wrong, stop. If you feel like a hamstring starting to pull or something hurts, there's a sharp pain somewhere, stop instantly. Don't do any more. Don't try and push through it. Try and find out what's wrong. Ask for help, because I don't want anyone getting hurt, because it's a great exercise, and if it's done right, it is a safe exercise that will build your overall core and help prevent injury. But if you do it wrong, there's a chance of getting hurt, so let's try and avoid that. Benevolence, good form, simplicity, and team. Word.